This section gives a brief introduction to subsystems. When designing your game, it's a good practice to separate different scripts into systems. You may have aiming system, AI, or movement system, and so on. System may encapsulate a lot of things, but expose a simple interface for you and your game. Same applies for uFrame. It gives you an ability to separate different parts of your game in the diagram, so you can focus on one task at a time. In uFrame 1.5, Subsystem can also serve to define global instances of elements. This will be also covered in this tutorial. But now, let's start from something simple. This is my main diagram. Now it's cluttered with tons of different subsystems. This is because I don't use awesome workflow features yet, which come with uFrame 1.5. But here, I can right-click and add a new subsystem. Alternatively, I can use Ctrl-Alt-U shortcut. I will name this one Building System. Inside of any subsystem, elements are stored. I'm going to create Building Manager here. Also, I will create a map and a building. For now, I'm not interested much in the properties. I'm just going to make it look pretty. Back in the main diagram, I can now create any scene manager I want. And link my subsystem to this newly created scene manager. This will tell whatever scene manager to work with this building system. It ensures bootstrapping all the necessary classes like controllers and registered view models when the scene loads. Scene Manager only allows one linked subsystem at a time, but we're probably going to have something else in our game rather than just building. So what I can do here is I can create another subsystem. I will call it Building Game. Inside of it, I can define any classes I want related to this particular game. And now, instead of directly linking the building system to whatever scene manager, I can link it to building game system to make it part of it. And now I can link building game system to whatever scene manager. The cool thing about this approach is, unlike scene managers, subsystems allow you to connect as many subsystems as you want. So if I will ever need a score system in my building game, I can just link it. If you work in a team, you will probably appreciate a new feature in 1.5, which allows you to define separated diagrams for graphs, subsystems, elements, and state machines. So imagine another guy is working on a subsystem, and you do not want to accidentally modify it. What we can do is we can go to our scene flow, click this guy here, and choose Create External Subsystem Graph. You can choose it here then. This will bring you inside this subsystem, and you can only work here. I'm going to rename it to something sensible, like Social System. And this is probably going to have something like Social Manager. Well, now in the main diagram, I can refer to this subsystem, right-clicking on the diagram, Show Item, Social System. You cannot modify it or go inside of it, so it's completely encapsulated. However, you can include this subsystem to any other system. In uFrame 1.4, There were a lot of issues with having global viewModel instances around different scenes and subsystems. uFrame 1.5 allows you to do the following. In my build system, I have this building manager, and I want to have it as a shared global instance around my game. So I can expand this building system, click this plus button, and pick up my builder manager. Now if I hit save and compile, and let the code get generated, I will go to my building game system and notice it has this building system connected to it. In my game root, for example, in the controller, I will have a reference to building manager instance. And this applies to all the controllers which are in the subsystem which you have connected this building system to. Also, if I define a view for my building manager and hit save and compile, in my hierarchy, I can create a new game object with builder manager view. And here you have this little button, use registered building manager instance. Once you do it, this view will use a global registered instance of building manager. A good note here is how this entire concept plays with the inheritance. Sometimes it's useful to have a base manager, which can be abstract and define some simple interface, and then create other systems with some concrete implementations of this manager. Finally, you can use different systems and different implementations of the same manager for different scene managers. A good example of this can be game rules. So let me remove this link for a second and create another subsystem. I'll call it Modified Building System. I will connect the building system to this one, and I will connect Modified Building System to the building game system. Inside of this, I will create a new element called Modified Building Manager. I will make it inherit from Building Manager. Finally, I will expand my Modified Building System and add Modified Building Manager as a registered instance, but in this case, I will change the registered name so that it matches the name of the registered instance in the building system. And now Modified Building Manager will override the simple building manager. And whatever scene manager will receive this implementation of building manager. However, I can still connect my building system to another scene manager, and in this case, State Machine Tune Manager will receive a registered instance of base building manager.